So, let's turn one of these on. I'll just go back to this one, because why not? So we'll turn it on. And when I turn it on, you'll hear the floppy disk drive check the disk for any pre-existing photos. So you might have heard a little tick there as the heads went to track 0. Other than that, you didn't hear much. The spindle motor is so quiet. I don't know how, because the 2X drives are really loud. So it beats me. But let's take a look at the display here. So of course you've got your info lithium battery indicator, and there's, you can see the backlight shining through the window. There's an indicator for what size images you're set to, so I have this set to the 1024 by 768 mode. You can choose between fine or standard quality. When you set it to standard quality, it doubles the compression. And you have a representation of how many pictures you've taken and how much space is remaining on the disk. So we have our menu here. You can hide it by pressing down on the joypad, or bring it back up by pressing up. So we have self-timer, a macro mode, which is excellent. The lenses, of course, on these are just carried over from handycams. So excellent macro mode. Actually, before I continue with the menu settings, why don't I take a photo? So I'll just I'll zoom in on here. I'll turn the flash off. We're zoomed up all the way, so I'll just take a picture and you'll hear the floppy drive go. So we hold the button halfway down like any digital camera. So you can hear, I think that picture came out poorly, but you can hear what the floppy drive sounds like there. No, I think that picture actually came out good. It's actually kind of difficult to get blurry pictures on these. First of all, the auto-focusing system, you know, works just as well as a Handycam. But second of all, just due to the design of these, I think the slowest shutter speed these things set themselves to is like 1/30. So while that makes these not very good in low lighting, it does make it so you're not really going to get blurry photos. In fact, these don't even have an image stabilization system. These don't have steady shot even. There's nothing, they just don't need it. They're just excellent. So that was this one. I should bring my exposure back up. I should mention how many photos you can store on one of these. The FD83 can fit 6 megapixel sized images onto a floppy, or 9 XGA sized images, and that's in the fine quality mode. You can double those figures for the standard quality mode. And what's interesting on these cameras is the standard quality mode is the same level of compression as the fine quality mode on the VGA Mavicas. So even if you take VGA resolution pictures on these, in the fine quality mode, they are half the compression of the fine quality mode on the VGA resolution Mavicas, which I found quite interesting. These Mavicas were the only Mavicas to have this little compression. Starting again with the 2000 model Mavicas, they went back to the same level of compression that the VGA Mavicas used. So it was quite interesting, I found. The FD88 can fit 4 1.3 megapixel sized images to a floppy. Let's turn this one on. And you'll see how long it takes to record an image to 1/4 of the floppy disk. Turn the flash off. Well, I'll turn the flash on this time. So I'll aim over here and I'll take a picture. So, you might or might not have seen the flash, but it's quite visibly yellow, which is interesting. And I'll show you here if I turn the display backlight off. So the camera itself is still on, the display itself is still active, just the backlight's off. If I hold it under the light here, look at that! It looks just like the backlight's on. But unfortunately, this only works well if somehow sun is shining through the window but not on the LCD itself. Once you get light on the LCD itself, it doesn't really work well. I'll turn my video light on here. And I think, yeah, with my video light on, it already gets quite less readable. So, I don't think it works all that well in real life, but it was nice to put on there regardless. So we'll go through the rest of the menu settings here. So if we go into the file menu, record mode, you have the normal mode, email mode. When you're in the email mode, when you take a picture, it records not only a normal picture as if you're in the normal mode, but it also records that same picture in 320 by 240 size and sticks it in an email folder on the floppy. And the purpose of this was that you had a good main copy of the image to keep for yourself, and you had one that was a really tiny size, like 20 or 30 kilobytes, that was easy to send over email, over a dial-up connection. And then you have the voice mode. The voice mode is quite interesting. We'll actually take a picture in the voice mode. When you're in the voice mode, when you take a picture, it records not only a normal copy of that image, but it also records an MPEG video of that image, a 5-second long MPEG video of that still image, and you can overlay your voice on it, so you can make a voice recording in that video. So after you take the picture, the camera beeps, and you can record a 5-second voice memo. So we'll take a picture here. And now you can see it's recording, and I have 5 seconds to record my message. So you can hear there it recorded 2 files to the floppy disk. So that's the voice mode. Put it back on normal mode. Quality, fine or standard. Standard doubles the compression, you get twice the number of photos. Image size, on the FD88 here you get 1.3 megapixels XGA or VGA. On the FD83 you get 1.1 megapixels XGA or VGA. File number, series or normal. In the normal mode, whenever you remove the floppy and stick another floppy in, or delete all the photos on your floppy, the camera resets the file number. You know, the images this thing records have a file name on them. It's MVC dash and a number .jpeg. And on the normal mode, whenever you stick in a new floppy or delete everything on the current floppy, it resets the number to 1. In series mode, it keeps going forever. Even if you stick in a floppy that already has pictures in it taken with another Mavica, these things will resume from the highest number on that floppy. So it's kind of neat. Disk tool. You can copy the entire contents of a disk to another disk, or you can format the disk. Moving on to the camera menu, we have exposure. You can set it between negative 1.5 and plus 1.5 EV. Flash level, low, normal, or high. White balance, you get indoor, outdoor, hold, which I believe just keeps it set to wherever it is, and automatic. And digital zoom, on or off. Go to the setup menu. We have beep. You can turn it on or off, or have it off but still make the shutter noise when you take a picture. Set the time and date, language, and video out, NTSC or PAL for when you connect it to a TV set. And those are your menu settings. I do want to demonstrate just the video recording, so I'll take the floppy out of this, stick it in, and we have that one picture we took with this camera. I'll go into the playback mode, so we just slide the slider switch to play. And it reads back the image, and there it is. So, well, you know what, actually, I'll take another picture just to demonstrate. I'm just going to take a quick picture. Now we'll go into the play mode, and it keeps the last picture you took in memory, so you don't have to it doesn't have to reload it when you go back to the play mode. So we can scroll from image to image. I'll press left to go to the last one, and it has to load it. So now it has to load the last image back into memory. You can see why the 4X drive was such a good idea. If these had 2X, even 2X drives, these would have required a lot of patience to use, recording and playing back those big files to a floppy, and a single speed drive would have been a nightmare. You'd be waiting like a minute to record an image to a floppy. We can go to an index. So how these Mavicas work for the index page is when you take a picture, it records a secret thumbnail-sized copy of that image into a secret area of the disk that you can't get to from a computer. And it's basically just like a 32 pixel wide copy of that image, and it uses that for the index page, so it doesn't have to take a long time loading every single image to get the index page, because these thumbnail images are, I imagine, only a few hundred bytes in size. So it's quite quick to load up an index page. We can of course delete any image we want. We have a file menu. Protect keeps it from letting you delete an image. Print mark. I had to look this up to see what it was. Basically, there is a standard for digital cameras. I would assume it's not incorporated on today's digital cameras, even though the standard still exists. But on these early digital cameras, it was there. The standard was called DPOF, Digital Print Order Format. And basically, DPOF was a standard created so that you could take a memory card or a floppy disk or whatever medium from any digital camera from any manufacturer, and you could stick it into, say, one of those Kodak printing kiosks, and you could place an electronic mark on images such that when you were at these kiosks, the kiosk would automatically recognize this mark, and it would automatically arrange photos that you wanted to be printed. So if I had a bunch of pictures on this floppy, and I knew I wanted this picture to be printed at a kiosk later, I could set print mark to on. It'll record that electronic marker to this picture, and when I stick this floppy in the kiosk, it would automatically come up with this picture ready to print. So that's what that was for. You can copy individual pictures to another floppy, and you can set a slideshow. So it just does a, like a slideshow of everything on the floppy, including videos and voice recordings. So these are the intervals you can set to, and every interval it has to load the new picture from the floppy. You could turn repeat on or off. So if we press start, and it'll just do this forever. Good way to wear out your floppy drive. So we'll get out of that. And then you have disk tool. You can copy or format the disk. So for my next trick, I'm going to format the disk because we don't need those files. And we'll take a video, because that can take up anyway the whole disk in one file. So you'll get to hear the drive record an entire 40 tracks onto the disk. So we'll go into the movie mode. Actually, I should show the movie mode has its own roster of settings you can choose. So if we go to the file menu here, you have record time set. So You can't make the clips variable length. You can only choose from one of three settings, 5, 10, or 15 seconds. And in the 320 by 240 mode, 15 seconds takes up the whole disc. However, in the lower resolution 160 by 112 mode, your clips still have to be a minimum of one of these three sizes, whatever you choose, but you can keep the shutter button held down past whatever minimum you set, and you can make the clip a variable length as long as it's longer as whatever you choose here. But in the 320 by 240 mode, well, actually, I suppose if I were to example set it to 5 seconds, I can keep the shutter button held down in the 320 by 240 mode. There's our two sizes we can choose from. So we'll record a video here. So I've set the minimum to 5 seconds. I'm just going to see how long it can go in the 320 by 240 mode with the shutter button held down. So you can see it's actually just recording it to memory at first. There's enough memory for a whole floppy disk worth of data, and then it records the finished data to the floppy. Yeah. So you can see how long it takes to record an entire disk. Not too long. That 4X drive really was a godsend. And now you get a disk full. So we can go into the play mode. Turn my exposure down again. And we can play back our video. It doesn't show it full screen. It just shows this little preview window here. But we can play it. Turn the volume up here. So you can see it's actually just recording it to memory at first. There's enough memory. Oh, that's interesting. Why didn't it play back the... Oh, this thing reset. What the heck? I think this crashed and then reset. That's really weird. Let's try again. Oh, now that's not good. This is a first. This is the first time I've seen this. Let me try power cycling it. Gotta wait for it to read back the disc. Oh, that is strange. That's the first I've seen on this camera. And this brings me to a topic which I was gonna bring up near the end of the video, but it's given me such a great opportunity that I'll bring it up now. The FD88 was plagued with software bugs. It's really unfortunate, but it was. One of them was that if you stuck a pre-formatted floppy in this thing, as in a floppy that was formatted from the factory, not formatted from the computer, sometimes the camera would not like the format, the pre-format, and it would work and it would record images, but the camera would get extremely hot in this area right here, and battery life would be really short. That was one of the bugs. If you took the disc and formatted it in a computer, it was supposedly fine. But still, no matter if the disc is pre-formatted or not, this camera just overall had a problem with getting quite warm. This one's really warm in this area right now, and short battery life, and occasional glitches, which is probably what we've just witnessed right now. So yeah, quite a few software bugs in this camera. I haven't been able to find anything about this one, but this one also gets really warm and battery life's quite short compared to the other Mavicas. It's kind of funny because Sony themselves didn't know about these bugs. It was a normal Mavica user who discovered these bugs and reported it on an online forum. And this person contacted Sony, and Sony absolutely refused to consider at first that there was an actual problem with the camera itself. They tried to blame it on the user's error at first, and then they took the camera back and sent them another one. Well, the other one behaved exactly the same. And they took that back and sent them a third one, which also behaved the same. And that's finally, and this person had to make like a dozen calls to Sony's technical support, and eventually they managed to get a hold of someone outside their call center and in their actual, one of their actual technical guys, who finally, sat down and took this person's information and investigated to discover that indeed the FD88 had some software bugs. Unfortunately though, despite Sony now knowing that this camera had bugs, you had to fight with them and fight with their technical support to get them to take back your camera and apply the software update to it. Sony did develop a software update. It could only be applied by a service technician, and it was applied via the floppy drive. And if you had one of these and it had the bug, you had to really grill Sony's technical support to get them to acknowledge that it wasn't something you were doing wrong and take back your camera and apply the software update. For many people, they had to threaten a lawsuit to get Sony to finally give in. This gave Sony a lot of bad publicity. They were way more close-minded as far as their technical support for this camera was concerned than they should have been, and they got a bad rap for that. Yeah, this camera had some bugs, and I think we just witnessed one. But this is the first I've seen of this one. We'll try again.
So you can see it's actually just recording it to memory at first. There's enough memory for a whole floppy disk worth of data, and then it records the finished data to the floppy.
So it worked that time. Perhaps, I had this turned off for a few minutes while I was going on that spiel. Maybe it was actually overheating or something. But yeah, the FD88 is kind of an oddball. I haven't observed anything overly wrong with the FD83 aside from that it gets warm and has poor battery life compared to Mavicas both before and after. So I think I've shown everything that I wanted to show with these things. What I'll do now is I'll actually record some test video and actually put them into this video. So first I'll show a 15-second video recorded in the 320 by 240 mode, and then I'll show a minute-long video recorded on the 160 by 112 mode, and I recorded both of these videos with the FD83. Okay, so this is a video in the 320 by 240 mode, 8 frames per second, and the zoom does work. And here's the 160 by 112 mode, which I'm sure is extremely 4K high definition quality. Now what's interesting is the clips have to be a minimum of whatever time you set, 5, 10, or 15, but as long as you hold the shutter down, you can go past that, and you can stop recording at any time between the minimum you set and the maximum that can fit on the disc, which is about a minute. So you can throw several clips together, kind of like a camcorder, when you're in the 160 by 112 mode. I think I got 5 seconds left. And now you can see it's recording, and I have 5 seconds to record my message. And now the last thing to show is test images. There will be a link in the description to an album on Imager that you can view on Imager.com. I will put an album of test photos that I've made with both of these cameras, and the link to that album on Imager is in the description. But for now, there are the Sony Mavica digital cameras, model MVC-FD83 and MVC-FD88 from 1999. Very interesting cameras. They introduced a lot of new things for the then still new and mainstream Mavica line of digital cameras. They introduced the 4X floppy drive. They were the first Mavicas to be able to take higher resolution images, the first with video recording capability. Unfortunately, there are, quite a few problems with these cameras. There's the aforementioned bugs I've mentioned, as well as the problem with all the 1997 to 1999 Mavicas, the overexposure when you have the flash, and the glitches in software, one of which we got to see before our own eyes today. But they're still very historical cameras, and they're very cool, and I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing them. I'm not interested in keeping these. I'll either be giving them away to someone who wants them, otherwise I'll just throw these on eBay. I have no interest in keeping these. The other two Mavicas I have, which I'll be showing in future videos, I like them a lot better. So I won't be keeping these, but I have enjoyed showing them to you, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing them. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later.